Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Issues Corner. I figured with the games going on in South Korea right now, we probably ought to talk baseball for the rest of the season. I know I posted a video a couple weeks ago about what I thought was going to happen. There's been some more changes, some spring training got to watch, so figured I'd give you an update on what I think. First and foremost, as always, anything you see on the website, if this is all opinion, okay, please bet responsibly. And if you have a problem, please get help here. Don't put yourself in a bad spot. But let's dive right in. Power rankings really haven't shaken up a whole lot for me. I know there's been some conversations about the Giants jumping up because they got Snell. There's some young guys still there that we'll see. They don't. Yeah, they might look a little. Obviously, Snell is an improvement to the roster, but I just don't see it bouncing them up anywhere. So dive into power rankings, then I'm going to do playoff predictions, and then I'll do a quick recap of how I did last year, so you guys all know, and what we're looking at going forward this year as well, because I've added a couple things. And then if you guys do want another video on how to bet and what that looks like, please leave a comment below, and I can post another tutorial on how to bet, where to bet, and what those look like. But let's dive in first. Power rankings. So again, not much change for the last video, but I did want to stipulate here the top three are pretty much interchangeable for me. I can see either any one of these three jumping up there. But let's start at I ranked 15. After that, it's kind of a muddy mess. So let's do top 15. 15th might surprise some people. I've got the Tigers. I like what they've done. They got a young team. Maybe need a little bullpen help, but overall, I like the Tigers. Okay, so they're coming in at 15 for me. 14, I've got the Reds. Again, same thing. Young team. They, not scared of anything yet. They don't nerves a little bit, but not really. I like what the Reds are doing. Still need a little bit of help with the pitching stuff. We'll see how they shake out. But I like the Reds. Brewers, I've got at 13 right now. My only concern with them is how are they going to look with the new manager? That's always a question after losing somebody like Council. So, yes, no, could be ideal. It could be all right with. They still got a great roster. It's just, is it going to be? Kay Council's arguably the best manager. I think everybody would agree the best manager in baseball. And losing him, the teams, on paper should perform worse. So Brewers could drop out top 15 pretty quickly. Next, I got the Yankees. They're always high ranked preseason, but injuries. If they can get, losing Cole hurts definitely. He's not going to be ready for opening day. But they got the bats. They've got that really strong lineup. Can they get a couple guys back to where they're supposed to be? Can they get Cole back in time to make a late push too? I think they start the season a little bit down, but I think their overall potential is still there. Possibly a top 10 later on in the season, but they could also go the other way real quick with a couple injuries. It seems to be the running theme with them the last couple of years. It was really good on paper, and then the injuries bugs get them. So, 12th right now. Next, I got the Blue Jays. Gausman not being ready for opening day hurts them, but overall, I like the team. They've got a lot of young guys still. Guerrero needs to figure it out. Get back to his form he was a couple years ago. But they've got the right pieces. They just need to put it together all at once with everybody healthy. Breaking the top 10. 10th, I've got the Cubs. It's another one of those. Same thing with a lot of these guys. Still a lot of young guys coming up. I like the re-signing of Belly. Manga has looked really good in spring training. Steele's on point again. Hendricks just threw 80 pitches last night and didn't give up any till the end of the fifth on a couple bloops. So everybody's looking good. The bats are looking strong. Morel looks good. Wisdom's looking good, and Suzuki is, I think, over his last 10 at bats, batting on base percentage is 800. Like, it's obnoxious. No strikeouts. Yeah, he's had 2 lineouts, a walk, and then either singles or doubles, and a couple home runs. Like, he's been on fire. So I know it's spring training. Some of the pitchers are still figuring it out. Facing some guys that are trying to make the roster, but bats have been really, really good. So let's hope that keeps rolling for them. Then we got the Diamondbacks. You know, they were good last year. They didn't, for me, didn't make a lot of moves, but they just did a couple right things. A couple, almost like they were in surgery and just doing a couple things. Um, yeah, I mean, I could see them right back up there again. So I got the Diamondbacks at 9, Mariners at 8. That one surprised me when looking at it, just because it's they've been getting better, but never really put it together. But yeah, on paper right now they've got a young roster, they've got a young outfield. Um, I like the bats. The pitching rotation is decent enough, So I think the Mariners are going to be a top 10 team all year. Then we got the Rays. They just keep bringing up guys and getting the best out of them. So you can't argue with what the Rays have going on right now, farm system wise, coaching wise. They're doing really, really well. So I think they keep that rolling. The Phillies, I like the Phillies. I got them at 6. I getting the extension to Zach Wheeler helped. I like the team. It's one of those for me though. When are we going to put it together? That's why they're not in my top 5. When are they going to just go? Like it's one of those you've had the pieces in place now or never. It's one of those. Are they missing the window of having Harper and Schwarber together, and are they aging? They're getting too old. So for me, Phillies, they need to do it now. If not, this year, like for me, it's World Series or bust for them this year. Otherwise, do you consider blowing it up and starting all over? Astros, I got as 5th. I know that's probably lower than what some people would consider them. Yes, they're good. They missed out on Blake Snell, so that hurts. But it's just the Astros. They're just really good. They didn't really need to reload anybody. They didn't need to extend anybody. They're just solid team all the way around. Then I've got. It's going to probably shock a lot of people with all the moves that they've done, but I've got the Dodgers at 4. It's one of those. Yes, they have a super team on paper, but it's got to work, right? The Yankees did it several times where they bought a super team and then it didn't work. Then they bought it and it did work. So it's still got to be put together. It's nice to have it all on paper, but they got to put it together. So they're at 4 right now for me until I see some proof of the pudding kind of thing. Top 3, as I mentioned before, can be interchangeable. So I'm going to start with I've got the O's. Young team, love what they're doing. They were really, really good down the stretch last year. I don't expect that to be any different. Any different at all with them this year. They're really young, really fun to watch. Shout out to my boy John. O's are looking good. So keep that up. Rangers, I got them at 2 right now. Again, interchangeable with the O's. Either way, you can make the argument. I like the Rangers. I like what they're doing. I mean, it's going to stink for them a little bit early because they got Scherzer and DeGrom down. But, with those 2 back, no reason they're not going to win that division. So, or look, at least, arguably going to be one of the best teams in baseball at the end of the year as long as everybody stays healthy. And then as my number 1, I've still got the Braves. There's on paper, there's nobody else to compete with this team. You could talk about, the Dodgers on paper too, but the Braves have it on paper and have done it. So they've proven that what they've got works. So I expect the Braves to continue rolling there. And then honorable mention to the Giants for getting Snell. They didn't quite sneak into my top 15, but honorable mention to them. So that's my rankings. Now get into what we think is going to happen because everybody wants to know who's going to make the playoffs, who's making a push, who's going to win each division, yada, yada, yada. So dive into division winners, what I'm projecting right now at the beginning of the year here. Granted, those projections will change as I get more data because none of this is just by feel. I have a formula, guys, that I use, whole spreadsheets and everything. So start off with division winners. AL East, I like the O's. It's always a fun division because, the Rays are always good. Yankees and Blue Jays have the potential to be really good too. We've seen years where 4 of the teams come in the wild card out of that division. So, but I like the O's to repeat what they did last year, 100-win season. I don't see any reason no why not, unless even if they lose to the 100-win season, then it was meant to be. As far as the Central, this one might surprise a lot of people. A lot of people are high on the Twins. I don't like what the Royals I like, but they're not quite there. They're doing a few things, but they're still, I think, a couple years out. White Sox have blown it up and are completely rebuilding. Guardian, I don't know what Cleveland's doing. I really don't. I don't see a plan. It doesn't seem like it's coming together for me. It looks like they're lost in a transition phase here. So I don't see them going anywhere. So you got the Tigers and the Twins. Twins got a little better in the offseason, but the Tigers are young enough. They need some bullpen help, but if they can get those bats working, I think they can easily win this division. So that's my prediction there. And then in the West, I've actually got a changing of the guard per se. I like the Rangers here. Mariners and Astros are going to be fighting for it too as well, but I like the Rangers down the stretch. I think when it gets into the dog days and down at the end here, they've got some veterans that are going to help them out there. Of course, the Astros have the veterans too, but how long can you get lucky? I mean, they tied last year record-wise, so at a certain point, they had to go to tiebreakers to see who's going to pull off that one. But I like the Rangers to pull it off. As far as wild cards, then I put 4. I know there's only 3 spots, but I put 4 teams in here that I keep your eye on as wild cards go. You got the Astros, of course. You got the Rays up there as well. I like the Mariners to come out of the West Division, so it's looking for 3 there. And then the Yankees to watch. It's if they can keep everybody healthy, they've got a great lineup. So we'll see how that shakes out. Now on to the NL. We got the NL East. I like the Braves to win that division. Yeah, you got the Phillies sneaking in there. Marlins were surprisingly good too, so we'll see. But I like the Braves. I think they're just hands down the team to beat. In the Central, again, Cubs are young. Pittsburgh is blowing it up. Cardinals are kind of in one of those weird phases. Like they were okay, but then they underperformed last year. They didn't really add any pieces that I saw that were significant, so I don't know that they get any better. So I think Pittsburgh's bottom of the division. Cardinals probably 4th. And then, it's a toss-up on who's going to come from there. The Brewers probably feel like they have something to prove, that it's not all Counsell. So they're going to try, have a chip on their shoulder, and the Reds are young. But I think the Cubs have the right manager in place to manage the bullpen, to get more out of the bullpen, and that was the struggle last year down the stretch, was the bullpen. So I think that's where we end up. The Cubs end up winning that division, but it's going to be a highly contested division all year. It could come down to another game 163 like it did a couple years ago. So, and then for the West, I got to put the Dodgers, just because on paper, I mean, the Diamondbacks could easily pull this off, but I got to put the Dodgers. As far as your wild card teams go, it's going to be a tight race at the top all the way up to the end of the year, I think. I like the Reds, the Diamondbacks, and the Phillies to get in there so kind of one from each division. I also like the Padres. But then again, I can also see, the Cardinals are trying to sneak up there, or the Marlins. So it's going to be I think it's going to be more contested in the NL for the wild card down the stretch. So be fun to watch for sure. As far as, dive into a recap for how last year went overall, 734. I got 1575 out of 2309 correct. So 68.21%. So just under 70% overall for the whole entire year. Of course, that went up and down as we got more data. Started around 66%, got up as high as 73% during regular season. So playoffs, 74%. So a little bit easier once we get into the playoffs because less teams better off. So hope to keep that trend going this year. And as always, check out the website, GishesCorner.com. I know for those of you that do follow the website, I threw some football stuff on there this year. I'll stick with the college football. The pros are just it's too much with just myself right now. So pros are going to go away, but I'll stick with the college football as best I can this year for you guys too. But as always, check me out on TikTok as well, and tune in for more. Hope you'll have a good day.